Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show.
Yeah, well, the iPad is probably my most used device that I use on a daily basis. Even, I would say, almost more than my iPhone. I use it to watch movies on at night. I use it during the day to take notes. I use GoodNotes for, writing down notes, and then I'll transfer some of the notes into the Apple Notes app.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of iPad Pros. I'm thrilled to be joined by Matt Evans in this episode. Matt is a technology enthusiast and is soon launching a new monthly tech news podcast with a focus on Apple entitled Ctrl Cmd Tech. And in this episode, we dive into how he uses his 13-inch M2 iPad Air, including some of his favorite apps, including SuperList, GoodNotes, Affinity Photo, Google Docs, and we dive into a lot more, including his history with the iPad and a lot of other just fun little topics scattered throughout. As a reminder, you can support this podcast over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. My great thanks and appreciation to everyone that supports the show. With that, here's my discussion with Matt. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you caught my radar on Mastodon. I saw you on there, and I saw you're launching a new podcast next month, Ctrl Cmd Tech. So I guess just to start, fill me in what this new show's all about.
Yeah, so it's going to be all about tech, obviously, and it's going to be focused on some of the biggest highlights in tech, from Apple to Google, anything that's happening in the tech world. I'm a really big fan of tech, and I'm obviously a really big fan of Apple, so I will probably be a little bit of bias on there because I've been an Apple fan for a long time, but I do have Google phones as well, and so I hope to cover some of the stuff from the Google land as well, and yeah, just trying to highlight some of the new tech coming out there and in the tech world. So
nice. Yeah, the latest Google phone I have, I think, is the Nexus S or something. I should fire that sucker up and see what it does these days.
Yeah, that's quite old. I'd be surprised if that still works. But
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what is kind of your background? Like, love Apple stuff. Like, when did you get into the Apple ecosystem? Day job stuff. Like, how's that been for you this past whatever?
Yeah, so I love to develop. I love to code. So that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about in my daytime life. And then the Apple world, like, I've been with the iPhone since the iPhone 3S. That was kind of my starter of the iPhone. I came from Android. I had a G1, I think, before that, which was one of the first Android phones that was released by T-Mobile, I think, or Google and T-Mobile. I switched there. I fell in love with the Apple ecosystem after that. I had a Mac for a long time, so I've always been a Mac user before that. But the iPhone kind of just, made things seamlessly, and over the years, it just kind of grew on me. And then when the iPad came out, I got the iPad. When the Apple Watch came out, I got the Apple Watch, and I've been hooked on the Apple ecosystem ever since. I've tried to leave a few times. I've tried to explore other things, but it's hard, and it's not. I would say it's not necessarily the ecosystem itself. I mean, it is, but a lot of times it's like the productivity suite that's available on the iPhone and the Apple ecosystem that's kind of keeping me there.
Is that, you mean like Final Cut and like some of the Apple only apps, or?
Yeah, well, not necessarily that. I would say it's more the quality of apps on the App Store and the Apple ecosystem. You just don't get the kind of quality you do on Android or some of the other devices out there.
Like, you're not finding an OmniFocus, Omni Outliner.
No. I'm not. You're not finding that. But like one of the biggest productivities I have, and I have ADHD, so I try to keep track of everything. Is my calendar, and I have several different calendar sets. And one of the things that I use on both my iPhone and the iPad and Mac is Fantastical, and it's a fantastic, way overpriced calendar app, but I use it every day, and it helps keep my life structured and organized, from anything, day-to-day tasks to meetings and appointments to what's going on in my wife's life as well. So it's very I would say I've never found one that's actually replaced that on any other platform, such as the Android ecosystem as well. So, and then task managers.
I love, as far as the calendars, I love Apple's it's so smart how you have all the calendars that are in the system that allows you to experiment and try other calendar apps, because you just, access my calendars. And then same on iPhone and Mac, it's the same, iPad, same way. You just let's try this app, let's try that app. And you can coexist with 3 or 4 different calendar apps if you have one app that does something better. And I just love that about the Apple ecosystem, is how fluid the calendar, how well thought out that is,
Yeah. So that's honestly one of the reasons that has kept me in the Apple realm for, so many years. Ever since Fantastical came out, I've been a member, and I again subscribe every year. Now that it's not a subscription model, but yeah. So that task manager apps as well have been a really good productivity thing out there as well. And I'm not saying there's not some good ones on the Android system, but I've never found anything that's really wowed me.
You're not a Google Tasks fan.
Yeah. So yeah. And Apple does some great things, Reminders is a very powerful app as well.
That's gotten so good over the years.
Yeah.
The grocery store stuff I love. It's so frustrating to me. It's hard to get my family on board. They still want to use Apple Notes as a shared note. It's please use. When I go to the grocery store, I just copy and paste this in the reminders to get the categories. Can you just please? No, they just want one app for everything. It's a struggle.
Yeah, but when we moved, we actually used reminders to kind of track everything between me and my wife on everything we had to do, cancel subscriptions, re-update addresses, everything in there. And it was so nice and seamless how it just worked together so easily. And that's just one of the things you don't get on other platforms, Do you
use multiple task manager apps, or is it mostly reminders for you?
Well, so I just started, I think it's called, SuperList. So I used Things for a long time. Things 3 was my total, task manager app out there. It's a beautiful designed app. It's made for the Apple ecosystem. But SuperList I heard of, and I was like, this is really cool. And it's by the developers who made Wunderlist, which I think was bought by Microsoft. So they came out with this new task manager, and it's called SuperList. It integrates with Google to email and some of their tools. But it's a very beautiful designed app, just like Things. So I've been actually trying that out for the last, I would say, 2 months now. And I've really liked it. I track everything in there from, what kind of things I'm looking for from the next, iPhone, that I can check off of my list of, features that I want to see, those type of things, to my bucket list, to places that I want to travel to day-to-day tasks. So I kind of merged everything into SuperList, and I'm giving that a try. And so far I've been really happy with it. And one of the things that's nice about it too is that it's available on, Windows, or it's available on Android and some of the other devices. So, but it's very much designed very much similar to Things. So
nice. And you do development work. What kind of stuff do you end up writing?
Yeah, so I built a long time ago. I built mostly Apple. I have never coded a Android app. I've mostly been into Objective C and Swift. But I built the most public thing that I've ever done was a Apple app back in, I would say, it was 2007, 2008.
Okay.
Somewhere around there, I started it. And then I took it off, I think, sometime after 2011, but it was a punch bug app. And so if you ever played Slug Bugs in the car, it was kind of an app to keep track of the score out there. And so I published that. It finally stopped working, around 2011, 2012. And I just took it off the App Store, and I haven't done really much in the public life from there, but mostly Objective-C and Swift.
Gotcha. Cool. With the podcast, is it going to be a weekly thing, or what's your frequency you're planning for that?
Yeah, so I'm trying for monthly right now, just for time wise, and for the launch. But eventually, I will like to try and get either to a bi-weekly or a weekly schedule.
Gotcha.
Of getting it out there, just because tech news changes so often, and
it does. So yeah, the monthly format will kind of let you evaluate the month and what actually was important this month, kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's like it's so much changes from day to day. Even like just with the TikTok ban in the last,
yeah, that's
week or so.
Wild. Yeah, it's like we're gone for a day, and then we'll have this.
Yeah. So everything just changes so quickly. So it's hard. It's gonna like. I could do a podcast, and then the next thing something changes. So
yeah, and Marvel Snap goes down as well somehow because it's linked to the. I don't understand that one, Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, so everything changes so quickly. So I'm gonna try for a monthly schedule first, and then try and work on a bi-weekly or a weekly schedule eventually.
And what's your kind of organization system for gathering the news and then kind of like? Is there scripting at all? Is it an outline format, or what are you going to do for that?
Yeah. So, I plan on making it more scripted, kind of open-ended questions too. I plan on having guests on there too, that are from the tech world and stuff. So I want to try and, ask them about their feelings and what their thoughts are on the latest tech news that's coming out. So, I've had some friends that I've, been working with in the past. So I want to try and get them on there. And, we're just, some of them are really good, Apple fans. One of them still loves Windows Phone. After
such a
so
great
many years.
platform. I imagine that does not work at all anymore.
I doubt it does. I mean, I think he still has his Windows Phone, but he's totally been into Windows. He loved Windows. If Microsoft ever released a Windows Phone, he would probably buy it. So
did he get that foldable book thing? What's it called?
I don't think he did, because he's on the iPhone. He was more of a native Windows phone, so it was the Windows phones.
I see. That ran Android, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So when they bought, that was run on Android. But when they bought the Windows Nokia phone, he I think traded in his iPhone for it.
Oh wow!
And I asked him, what were you thinking? Like,
yeah, I have a Lumia in my bag of old. I've got my Palm Pres in there, and I got the Lumia. So I got a Windows phone. And
I think that was a Lumia phone that he had. Yeah,
slide out keyboard. It was a great little piece of kit. Yeah,
yeah. So I plan on having him on there. I plan on, kind of devoting each episode to kind of like topic based, that's in the news field. And, maybe add a couple bonus episodes every once in a while in there as well, with some special topics as well.
Nice. As far as the organization, do you have a certain app you like to gather the news in and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I've been a big fan of Notion for a long time. I just kind of switched away from Notion a little bit. So I've actually been using Apple Notes, which
it's gotten better over the years. Yeah.
I haven't used it in so long. I think the last note that I was using was Craft before Notes, but I switched back to Notes about 6 months ago. Moved kind of all my notes in there. And I've been loving it. Like, it's very powerful. It has features that a lot of people don't even know about. So I think the biggest thing that I use is tags, is trying to tag things. And finding things better easily that way. Also, with Apple Intelligence coming out, it's easier to search for things now. So I'm really excited for that. So I've been all in on Apple Notes for about 6 months now. And I plan to continue it, with creating scripts and creating, topic lists. And it's also easy to collaborate with other people too.
For sure. Yeah. Do you use RSS, or are you doing things through social for finding information these days?
I don't use RSS as much. I mostly use social media to try and find topics and stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I used to have a big RSS addiction. Just like, it just doesn't seem to be as needed for me anymore. Like, things bubble up based on who I follow.
Yeah. I would say back in the day, I probably used one. I don't remember what it was, but for the most part, I've usually gotten my news and, stuff off of social media. The news app from Apple as well have all my tech, tech related contents posted there as well. So that's kind of where I've gotten most of my news from. So
Nice. And as far as the iPad, what's your history there? You got the 2010 iPad when it came out. What other iPads have joined your life as the years have gone on, and where are you today?
yeah, well, the iPad is probably my most used device that I use on a daily basis. Even I would say almost more than my iPhone. I use it to watch movies on at night. I use it during the day to take notes. I use GoodNotes for writing down notes, and then I'll transfer some of the notes into the Apple Notes app
With handwriting? With
yeah,
GoodNotes?
handwriting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
With
yeah.
the Apple Pencil.
So, and I
okay.
have horrible handwriting, but for some reason, I can translate a little bit better on the iPad.
Sure.
So yeah, I use that for most of my day to day activities. I don't take my MacBook with me very often anymore, unless there's something that I'm going to do on my MacBook that I can't do on my iPad with me. I'll not take it. So my iPad will be the choice of the devices that I take with me. But the history of it, I've been with the iPad since I think the first generation iPad I got. It was about, I didn't get it on launch day or anything. I think I got it about, like 6 months or 7 months after it came out. And I've been a fan of it. I've recently gotten into it more with the relaunch of the iPad Air. So the iPad Air went away for a little while and then it came back. That's kind of when I got back into the iPad as my, productivity driver. So, I recently upgraded to the new M2, and one of the reasons why I did that is because of the 13-inch. I like the bigger screen. It just made more sense for typing, and you get bigger size keyboard. I use the Logitech. I forget what they call it, but there's a Logitech keyboard out there that they use for it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's got like a detachable keyboard kind of thing?
Yeah, it has a detachable keyboard. It's just nice. It's black, so it kind of looks a little bit like the it's called the Combo Touch.
Okay.
Logitech Combo Touch. But
Is
yeah,
the keyboard also Bluetooth, or does it need to be connected physically to use it?
Yeah, it needs to be physically connected.
Okay.
So it has to be connected to the 3 rings that are
Gotcha.
at the bottom
Yep.
of the thing. So, but it doesn't require any battery or any charging of that. And it's a nice keyboard. I've never been a fan of the Apple keyboards for some reason. I don't know why. I'm sure they're great for some people. I've never been a fan of them.
Did you ever try the Magic Keyboard out of curiosity?
I did. I've tried it a couple times.
Okay, because that was a big there's a big step forward from the Fabric ones that people hated. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I tried it. I even got it for the M2 iPad before I got this one, and I wasn't a fan of it. I don't know what it was exactly. It just felt more comfortable, and I had this before on my previous iPad, which was the 5th generation, I think is what they were calling it. But I've been a loyal iPad user for years. I actually even had the 4th generation iPad Air, and one night I woke up the next morning and the iPad was just broken. Like, it was like I couldn't use it at all. Like, it wouldn't boot up or anything. I tried to go into DUF mode and do all the things, and I couldn't get it. I scheduled an appointment with the Apple Genius team there at the Apple store, and we went in and they looked at it. They couldn't reset it. They said, "Hey, I think it's something with the motherboard that's causing something to transfer files from to restore the file. It's not working." So
Yeah, I've had that happen once in my history. I have 2 original iPads, from 2010. One of them that has happened to and no longer boots. It's very sad.
Yeah, I left with another iPad because it's a productivity driver for me. It's so important in my life that I couldn't do without one. So that's when I upgraded to the 5th generation, and then when the new one came out, I got the M2, mostly because of the bigger screen. I was still content with it, but I did like that it came in the 13-inch. I did have an iPad Pro at one time, but it's just powerhouse for me. I don't do a lot of graphics. I don't do a lot of things on there. It's mostly, research, productivity, task management, watching movies from here and there, but nothing that's going to really require me to have an iPad Pro, for the price of what it is.
Yeah, the Pro is like, here's all these nice touches. I have the Pro. I love the Pro, but it is like the ultimate. Oh, isn't this a little bit nicer? Like the Pro Motion, and I've got the extra storage or whatever that doesn't come in the iPad Air sizes or whatever. But like, there's all these little things. Like, oh, it's a little bit thinner, and like, it's faster, but it's got the nano texture, which I love the nano texture. But like, all these little things,
Yeah. So I just didn't see that the price of the iPad Pro just didn't reach it. However, I did upgrade to the cellular version when I went to there.
Yeah. I always regret not getting it whenever I opt out. It's so nice having that, right?
Yeah, and it's just like it's there when you need it. You don't got to connect to anything. I can pull things open and I can go. I could always connect it to my phone because I had a hotspot on there. But opening your phone, getting it connected, making sure that it's connected. Now I can just pull it open. And then also it works really nice if I forget it somewhere, because it'll send me the notification right away when I walked away from it. Because it's connected to the internet. So if I walk out of the house or I walk out of the office or whatever, and I don't have it with me, then I know I left something behind and I can go back, because again, it's a super productivity driver for me. So
yeah, my favorite thing with the Apple Watch, well, one of them is the little ping my iPhone thing. It's like, I know it's in this room, let me beep it. And the latest ones that have like the U chip, it'll like direct me towards the phone, and like it turns green when I'm holding it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I have AirTags in everything of mine, and even in my Apple Watch, I have a Find My. It's not from Apple, but it's from a third party that integrates with Find My.
Yep.
Yeah. So I have it in my wallet because I lose everything. My wife can, I'm like, I lost my wallet for a week. And it's not my main wallet, it's my secondary wallet, but I knew it was in the house somewhere. And then, she was going through the clothes and doing the laundry, and at the bottom of the laundry basket was my wallet. And she's like, did you lose something? And I said, no, I didn't really lose something. I knew where it was. It's in the house somewhere because it's pinging, but I couldn't find it. And so we go back and forth on whether I really lost it or not, because I just misplaced it, I feel like. But I lose everything. So I put AirTags in everything just to make sure that I have everything, because that's one of my things that I always feel like I walk out of and I forget something. So
totally. Yeah. No, the AirTags and the Find My thing is such a good quality of life change to be able to find this stuff. Like, I've got one of my fancy camera that I don't use that often, so it's like, where did I leave that thing? Oh, there it is. Yeah. I've got one of my cat, because she likes to hide, so it's like, let's make sure the cat's still in the house.
Yeah. No, it's great. So I have it on my keys, I have it on my wallet, I have it in my backpacks, I have it pretty much everywhere. So.
And do you got the Apple Pencil Pro with the new iPad Air, right?
I do. Yeah, that's the only thing that works with the iPad Air. The other one doesn't work. So
unless you want the USB-C one, I guess would be the other
option. You can get the USB-C one, but the only thing that magnetizes to it is it, and I just I like to have it magnetized to it.
So much nicer, right? Yeah.
It is. So I was like, after I bought that, then I was like, well, I got to figure that out. So I actually ended up selling my iPad fourth generation that kind of locked up and was a paperweight. I actually sold it to somebody for parts. So they were looking for some housing and I think the screen or whatever. So they ended up buying it off of me. And then I used that to buy the Apple Pencil Pro, because I was a little annoyed at that. That was one of the things. It's like the AirPod Maxes. I have the AirPod Max and I love it, but it's like my last USB-C or my last Lightning. And I really want USB-C in my life to be everything, but it's like It's the one device that I can't get rid of.
Yeah, I made the realization when the USB-C AirPods Max came out that I store my AirPods Max in the Waterfield Design shield case, and I realized there's several little pouches inside this case. You know what really fits in there? A little tiny adapter for USB-C to Lightning. So I just, with the AirPods Max USB-C came out, I bought this little adapter for like $5. Like, problem solved. I can't believe I didn't do this like 2 years ago. Like,
yeah, that's a good idea. I should probably invest in it. I have a little lightning cable that sits behind my other desk over here, and I literally just plug it in, and and it goes. So
yeah, I keep around my 10.5 inch iPad Pro, and it's in a case that supports the Logitech charging stand. I'm not sure if you remember this thing. The Logitech sold this charging stand that worked with the Smart Connector. So it's been repurposed to be my daughter's emergency iPad if she's freaking out and we need to get Louie going. It's there on the stand on top of the dresser where she can't reach it. But it's nice having that charging stand because I don't need to worry about the lightning port plugging that in all the time because the battery's just not good on this thing anymore. But that iPad's been repurposed for that use now.
Yeah. And we have a couple other iPads too. My wife has an iPad mini, not the newest one. It's the generation before that.
Okay, but still the USB-C one.
Yeah, USB-C.
I really want one of those things. They seem so perfect.
Yeah, and my friend Tim has one, and he actually he printed the 3D printing for the Mac Mini. So it's I think they call it, well, it was called the Mac Studio, but they also made a Mac Mini one where it looks like an old Macintosh Classic.
Oh yeah.
And then you slide your iPad Mini in there, and then you can literally take your M1 or your Mac Mini underneath, or your Mac Studio, and you can put it underneath there, and then you can connect it and use it as a display. There's a very talented artist that made a I forget what his name is, but you can search for it. It's Macintosh Studio on YouTube, and it'll literally pull up his 3D printing model. And he actually printed it, and he has it sitting on his desk. I haven't printed mine yet, but it is something that I've been thinking about doing because my wife doesn't use her iPad mini as much because she also has another iPad, which is the 10th generation iPad, I think is what it is, the latest iPad out there. When we moved, Xfinity ended up giving us like a free iPad for moving, so we ended up just using that for her, because she mostly just plays games on it, watches some TikTok or watches some movies on there, that type of thing. So
nice, yeah. And then, so you had the original iPad, and then Air was kind of where you gravitated towards after that. The naming of Air just for many years is such a weird thing. The baseline iPad was the Air for a while. Then it's like, let's make this whole new thing. And
so it was the original Air that kind of grabbed me in. It was a thin iPad, and it's not really an Air anymore because the iPad Pro, the new iPad Pro, is even thinner now than the iPad Air. So it's not size wise, it's not that. I agree. I think
it's just like
the new name for it, but
it's like the mid tier, like this is the model most people should get kind of name.
But I would say it's mostly kind of like a mid-level range. So if you don't want the original, you want a little bit more productivity, the Apple Pencil Pro. And I'm not much of a drawer. I can't draw anything really, unless I'm sitting there watching a YouTube tutorial on it.
Exactly.
But
tracing paper, basically.
If you want to do a little. Yeah, if you want to do a little bit of drawing, then that's helpful. But it's kind of a mid-range, I would say, from the iPad lineup.
So GoodNotes, you're just kind of throughout the day just randomly writing. Do you have daily notes where it's just like, here's today's sheet of notes that I'm working with?
Yeah, so I keep GoodNotes open, and I keep my Apple Pencil there, and I write down anything that just comes to my mind real quickly. I'll just jot it down, and I'll go back through the day, and then I'll just kind of convert whatever I need to over to Apple Notes. and I'll scribble off. The one thing I like about GoodNotes is you can just scribble over it and then it erases it.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, like the Newton kind of paradigm.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I really love about GoodNotes, and mostly it's just jotting down little things. It could be just doing some math, quick math on there, quick things that I just need to remember that I'm going to get rid of in a few minutes, or at the end of the day. And then anything that's high priority, then I'll just, anything I'm going to reuse, I'll transfer over to Apple Notes.
Did you ever experiment with Apple's Quick Notes where on a locked iPad you can just grab the Apple Pencil and just start writing?
Yeah, I haven't. And I actually watched a YouTube video not that long ago of somebody using the Apple Pencil with that. And so it's something I want to get back into and try. Because I use Apple Notes for everything else. I just I haven't really had the time to explore it and try to get used to the difference between GoodNotes and Apple Notes. So it's something that's on my list of things to try out and see. But yeah, the other thing the other thing that I love about that is Scribble. Like you can actually scribble something and then it reads what you do, but sometimes it doesn't understand when I scribble something, what I'm actually writing. So I have to get a little bit better or creative about that, or I'm going to have to go back and rewrite it a lot.
Are you a cursive or print guy?
I'm a print guy.
Okay.
But sometimes it looks cursive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that I want to get back into and try, but I just haven't got around to it yet.
Gotcha. The one change I wish Apple Notes would do is let me pinch in the zoom when I'm writing, because I need to basically write full screen. Like I need big, whatever the slipperiness of the iPad screen. I like one thing that's great about GoodNotes is you can zoom in, write nice and big, and then you zoom out, it looks normal size. Like I want that for Apple Notes.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I love about GoodNotes. And I think Notability has that as well. But I never really fell in love with Notability. GoodNotes is kind of where it's been. I've been with GoodNotes for at least a couple of years. So.
Yeah. Being a student these days, I'm very envious of the technology available now versus when I was like having an audio recording while the class is going on, so you can just like take random notes, like listen here, this is important. Kind of like I would totally, instead of taking all these notes, I'd be like just writing random spots, like listen here, kind of in the audio, kind of.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I had a laptop, but I think it was like a Dell or something. I didn't have a Mac at that point, but I had a Dell, and I use that. But yeah, I'm kind of jealous of everything that they have, because like when I had my first cell phone when I turned 18, it was a Nokia, I think. Or
yeah.
Maybe it wasn't a Nokia. Maybe it was a Nokia. I don't remember. But it had an antenna that you had to pull up, a little flimsy antenna. And I'm like, yeah, I was just like, I don't get it. Like, they have all this cool tech. They have all this cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you want to go back to school.
Totally, yeah.
Not really, but I guess.
Not really.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. But
but I could sit in on some classes for fun, Yeah.
Yeah, the productivity tools that they have right now out there is amazing. So
I'm very excited for when my daughter is learning math, like in like I don't know, 4 years from now. I'm not sure what age that is, but math notes, man. I'm so excited to dive into math notes with my daughter.
Yeah, math notes will be everybody's friend when they're doing math. I wish math notes was out there, because I was never good at math. I'm still not great at math, but I know how to get the calculations that I need. So,
yeah, and it'd be so much more fun just like trying to play with math notes. And I was terrible at math. I studied the longest and hardest for math, but it got the worst grades. That's just how it worked for math. But and the teachers, they've got to be, imagine approaching teaching differently, because like what's like with math, like we can do the calculations with all these calculators all around us. Like it's got to be a different environment. And I'm also worried about some of that stuff, because there's like no right answer anymore sometimes I hear. So it's like
yeah. Well, and it's definitely changing with AI out there as well too,
Mm-hmm.
Like we never had any of that when I was growing up, know. So like trying to rephrase things. Like one of the things that I use a lot is ChatGPT, just to rephrase things to make things sound a little better. So I'll kind of drop some of my notes in there and look for ways that it might, rephrase things as well, to make it sound better. So
yeah,
but I wish I had that when I did essays sometimes, because some of my essays I was like, am I using the right, phrasing, and does it sound, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of your other favorite iPad apps that you're using day in and day out?
Oh man. That's a tough question. So GoodNotes, I would say, is probably one of my top favorites, but I've also been using let's see here. Affinity Photo. So I use that as my Photoshop tool to kind of edit photos out there. I use Google Docs and Google Sheets basically for my notes, or for my word processing and spreadsheet database out there. So I'm still kind of in there. But
is that because of the compatibility with other things out there? Because yeah, they're not great overall. I mean, as far as apps, I don't know. They're just...
I've never been a fan of Pages, and I don't think that, to be honest, no offense to Apple, but I don't know that they've done email the way that Google did email.
Yeah.
So those are two of the things that are out there. And then Procreate. When I want to try and draw, like, Procreate is where I go.
It's fun.
So,
I suck at drawing, but it's fun to do just abstract art within Procreate. Like,
yeah,
I'll do all these like circular things and like just have fun
yeah.
with it. Yeah.
I've been trying to experiment on wallpapers, so I've been trying to make my own wallpaper, because I'm a big fan of wallpapers. I change my wallpaper almost every day, and so I've been trying to create new wallpapers out there that I can use on my own, because I spend so much money buying everybody else's wallpapers, because they're so. I mean, some people make some amazing wallpapers, so. That's kind of one of the things that I've been working on with Procreate, is trying to create my own wallpaper pack. But other than that, like, I mean, those are my basic things besides Fantastical, SuperList, the social media apps out there. One of the things that I really love about, the iPad Air that you don't get on the original iPad is the slide over mode and stage manager. Is you can basically put a small iPad app there. So, Threads obviously doesn't have an iPad app, and I don't know that they ever will, just based on their track record for building iPad apps. So I put my Threads, iPad app to the right, and then I have Blue Sky or something else to the left, and then that way I can, it doesn't look funny when you pull up an iPad app on the iPad.
Yeah, the Threads web app thing works surprisingly well on the iPad. Add the home screen thing. It works, I have that on there too, but sometimes it can be a little overkill. So if I just want to scroll through something, you'll use the iPhone app.
Yeah, then I'll use the iPhone app. So
and as you said, like Stage Manager, it made those apps less stupid. It just works
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean those are my like main productivity apps that I use on there, and then I obviously have Final Cut Pro, where I'll do some minor editing on there if I need to.
For the podcast, is it going to be a video podcast or pure audio?
Yeah, so I'm experimenting with an app called Riverside, and Riverside is basically a video podcasting. So I do want to try and do both, as video and audio together.
Nice.
So I'm going to use the Riverside app and give that a try. It's kind of a good thing. It basically records your audio locally on your device, and then it uploads to their server. And then it also creates the video. You can also, separate tracks between the two, so everybody has their own track. And so that's kind of how I'm going to use it to start with, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and that they have an iPad app. You could actually do the show from the iPad, which is very cool. I love their app. I just wish it was. It's price wise. It's like I don't want to spend that much. It's a great thing, but I wish I had the budget more to dive into that one.
Yeah, it is a pricey app, so we'll see if I keep it, but I figured I'd give that a try first, and then I'll try, some other alternatives in out there as well.
Yeah, but if you want to do video, I would 100% be doing that. Or StreamYard's the other thing that's pretty good for video if you're using the Mac.
Yeah, I have. I don't use StreamYards as much. I participate in a channel sometimes called MakerDeck, and they use StreamYards to stream onto Twitch. But I've used Restream in the past too to stream onto Twitch when I'm 3D printing something. So I've used both of those. So I might give one of those a try too. See what the pricing is any better on that.
Nice. And for the podcast, as far as editing, are you going to do much editing with the audio and video and stuff? And what tools do you anticipate using there?
Yeah, so I hope to do more editing rather than just trying to create a one-time podcast. So yeah, I plan on editing the podcast and trying to make it a little cleaner once it goes out. Because everything once you type something, things change, and you might want to move things around. So.
Good.
Yeah, I plan to do that as well.
And then when you're doing that, I would recommend trying out Ferrite on the iPad as like...
What's it called?
It's called Ferrite. Ferrite. Really amazing app. That's what I used for all my editing. And you can really build out... You can do custom keyboard shortcuts for anything you can do. So I've got like built out like a video game where this hand, WASD could control all the timeline stuff. And then you can use the Apple Pencil with it in really good ways as well. Like really thought out. It's like designed explicitly for podcasters kind of thing. So I would try that out if you're just doing audio edits. It doesn't handle video yet. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah. What else? Anything else in iPad land worth mentioning for you?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we covered most of it. I will say that I'm more of a fan of the Apple Pencil now than I have been in the past. I'll just add about that, because I used the Apple Pencil for so long. But I think over the last year or so, I've been actually more of a fan of the Apple Pencil.
Do you squeeze at all in the new Pro?
I don't squeeze it. I actually turn off the squeezing because I accidentally squeeze too much.
Yeah.
So, and again, I just use it for jotting down notes mostly. So it's the Apple Pencil Pro is kind of overkill for me. I will say one of the things that really helped me is, we were getting out of the car and I lost my Apple Pencil, and I was like, we looked everywhere for it, and I was like, did we have it when we went into the restaurant? Because I didn't want to leave it in the car, and then we couldn't find it. We searched the restaurant, it wasn't there, and we searched the car, and the Find My actually was coming up, and it says I'm right on top of it, and I was like, well, did it roll under the car? I was looking under the car for it, couldn't find it under there. Finally, I was like, well, I don't know. It's in there somewhere. It's in the car somewhere. And my wife and I just drove away. And then the next day, I gave it a more thorough look through, and I saw this little tip of a white tip that looked like the Apple Pencil sticking out. And I'm like, there it is. Like, it's stuck in between the seat, in between the metal bar that holds the seat in place. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get that out, but somehow I did. And I took a screenshot and I sent it to her, and she was amazed that I found it, because we searched that car high and low that night. So it saved me an extra $129 because that would have been an expensive replacement. So.
I had a very similar thing where I searched this car for like 2 hours. Like, it felt like 2 hours one night. I couldn't find it. Ordered a new pencil. Like a week later, found the freaking pencil in the car. It's like, they just disappear. The magnet's great, but I definitely take it off and put it in a more secure place when I'm like putting it in my bag and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I do that now, just because I don't want to lose it. So
it needs a speaker. Yeah, definitely. It needs something to tell you, hey, it's right here, so that way you can. Yeah, definitely. That would be a nice addition to the next version of the Apple Pencil. So. Because I think the competitor that just came out from Logitech or something that works with the iPad, it's like a pencil replacement. It has a speaker with Find My and stuff. It's like,
I might have to try that. I've never tried any third-party ones, mostly just because I like that it magnetizes and charges right on my iPad. So, but that may be something that I try here in the future because, yeah, there's been some other creators out there that I think have explored some other third-party ones and they like it as well. So,
do you do much video production stuff? Like, do you have a YouTube channel and all that, or?
So I don't have a YouTube channel to say. Most of my video content that I do is mostly social media platform on Reels. So I'm kind of a big Star Wars fan. So I have a Star Wars themed office, and I do a lot of content creation on that. I do some video reviews on Instagram, Reels. Never really took off on TikTok. But I do have quite a bit of following on Instagram, and so I use that. Sometimes I'll post them to shorts on YouTube. But I'm at Matt Evans Tech, usually everywhere except for Mastodon.
Nice. With Star Wars, I love I love Star Wars, but I'm so far behind in all the shows right now. Like, I know Skeleton Crew wrapped up recently. I need to catch up to that one.
Yeah, I need to catch up on it too. I haven't watched it since it came out just because I like when episodes come out. The whole season comes out, the whole week of waiting for an episode. So it's really hard sometimes too, because everything pops up on social media and you have to kind of scroll through and not read it. So that's one of the challenges of trying to hide from content on it, because sometimes a lot of people post on there. So
yeah. Have you tried or played around with external monitor support with the M2 iPad Air?
I haven't. It's one of the things that I want to do in my future setup ideas, but I do kind of want to try and use more external monitor support and see how that works. So that's something that I want to do in the future and see. Again, a lot of times, most of my stuff is just jotting down notes, marking things off on my task list, and I use my Mac for everything else. But there's some people out there, that.
Yeah, it basically turns the iPad into like a simplified Mac almost, like when you're at your desk with a keyboard and trackpad or whatever.
Yeah. So it's something that I want to try and experiment with more, is maybe having, an iPad over here. I have had like an iPad on a stand, next to me as well, but nothing where I've actually plugged it in and used it as a
because you have like a two. I'm looking at your desktop here. You have like a two setup here, two different workstations.
Yeah, so behind me I have a gaming setup basically, and it's not necessarily a gaming setup. I do have a Windows PC connected to it as well, but most of the time I'm doing very lightweight gaming. I haven't. Eventually, I want to build my own gaming PC for it. I do have a retro Nintendo connected to it as well. So, but I have two 27-inch monitors over there, and then my main desk, which my MacBook is connected to, is a 43-inch LG monitor, and then I have the LG Dual Up that I just moved over to it as well. So I have a LG Dual Up to the left, which is two 24-inch monitors stacked on top of each other. LG sent it to me about, I think it was CES, like a couple of years ago they launched it. And they sent it to me afterwards, and I've been a fan of the LG Dual Up forever. It's just nice to have two stacked monitors on it. It would probably be really nice for the iPad. I actually should try the iPad on it as well, because it's kind of like a portrait type monitor, and it would probably actually look pretty good on there. And then you can split it into two 24-inch monitors as well. So that might be something to try out too, is have my Mac connected up there, but do an external monitor for my iPad. So.
Yeah, that'd be very cool. Where can folks follow you online?
Yeah, so everywhere I'm on on Mastodon, I'm on m@goopply.com. That's GOOPPLY.com. And then everywhere else you can find me at Matt Evans Tech, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on everything except for X. Threads, Blue Sky.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then for the podcast, when that launches, do you have a URL yet, or?
Yeah, it's going to be Ctrl Cmd Tech.
Cool.
.com.
And then just search all the podcast clients for that as abbreviated names, right? So
yeah, well, I have the
CTRL.
non-abbreviated names too. I basically went on and registered every domain that I could think of.
Yeah.
So you type in Ctrl Cmd Tech anywhere, you'll find it. But CtrlCmdTech.com. So CTRL CMD Tech.com.
Yeah. I'll be curious with the search in like Apple Podcasts to see how well it'll do the full name versus abbreviated and how well that will. I'm just curious, like, if there's any like in the description of it, if you'll put like the full name to try to like mitigate that or whatnot.
Yeah, I haven't decided that I'm going to see kind of how it goes first, but we'll see how it shows up there.
And then you could do the fun thing of just putting the symbol for Control Command.
Yeah, well, I have this symbol. Yeah, I use the symbol everywhere else, so I use the symbol on the website and everything. And it's kind of tilted a little bit. So I did some crazy CSS to work it out on the website. So, it'll launch in February, and I'm really excited for it. It's something that has been on my bucket list a long time to do, and I really want to get into it. So,
very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Matt. It's been great meeting you and catching up about all the iPad stuff you've been up to.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's my discussion with Matt. My thanks to Matt. Well, that's my discussion with Matt. My thanks to Matt for his time recording this episode. My thanks to you for your time and attention tuning in. Make sure to check out Ctrl Cmd Tech launching in February. And if you'd like to support this podcast, head over to patreon.com/iPadPros or subscribe in Apple Podcasts. My great thanks to everyone that does support the show. And with that, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.